So, hey, Metalheads, Matters a Law radio show and YouTube channel has the honor to interview Aaron Stainthorpe, songwriter, co-founder, and vocalist of MyDyingBride. So, welcome, Aaron. Thanks for your
Hello.
time. And my first question is, The Ghost of Orion, most recently My Dying Bride album, released after 5 years of wait, brings back some elements of My Dying Bride golden years. I suppose you are proud of it, and how has been the acceptance of it so far, and what are your personal impressions about the album?
It's been warmly accepted and welcomed by seemingly everybody, which is great. You know, obviously there are a few die-hard My Dying Bride fans who say it's nothing like the early material. We hate it, but that's a very small minority. For the most part, people are welcoming us back because, as you mentioned, it was 5 years since our last album, and a lot has happened in those 5 years. So people were ready for a new My Dying Bride album. And we hope that we delivered something that was strong and something that had good quality songs, well composed, and which sounded awesome. You know, we have a new producer, Mark Minor, and we think he did a fantastic job. And with the album cover designer, Eliran Kantor, I think he came up with a unique piece of artwork for the cover as well. So we brought a lot of new elements, and of course, being on Nuclear Blast, this was new for us as well. So there were lots of new things for us involved with this album. Of course, new drummer, Jeff drummed on this album as well. So many new things happening for My Dying Bride when this album was being put together. And sometimes when you have too many new things, some things can go wrong. Luckily for us, nothing went wrong. We managed to hit every single nail right on the head. And luckily the record label loved the album. And that's always useful. If they hated it, we would have had to go back and rewrite it. So everything came together really well. You know, sometimes when you've had a long break, it's difficult to get back and create something worthwhile. But I believe we have. You know, we're really proud of the album. And it got great reviews in the magazines and the websites and everything like that. And even made new fans. You know, we're seeing our album coming up in lots of top 20 albums of 2020 by people who've never heard of My Dying Bride before. So it's strange that after 30 years, The Ghost of Orion is for some people the first time they've heard My Dying Bride, which is extraordinary. And so I think that justifies our move from Peaceville Records to Nuclear Blast. Although Peaceville were wonderful, and we still love those guys, we still talk with them and work with them, we felt we needed someone bigger to help spread the name of My Dying Bride, because we felt we had more to offer, more to give people. And there were more people out there who weren't aware of us. And it was the right decision because, as I say, more people now have heard of My Dying Bride than before. So it's all good from our point of view.
Yeah, for sure. Good. And The Ghost of Orion was released in March, exactly month of the highest peak of this virus that we all know. So most probably you haven't had any chance to play the songs live. And so was the virus problem solved? Do you have any concerts and festivals planned?
Yes, everything that should have happened this year will happen next year, we hope. I'm not sure about the early shows, despite the fact that we are now having the vaccine here in the UK. I still think some of those early shows next year are not going to happen. I may be thinking summertime or even late summertime, you know, sort of August, September. That's more realistic. And it would be good, you know, because this year should have been our sort of comeback year, because our last show was September 2017. That was the last time we played live. So we were hoping to come back this year and play live, but the pandemic hit, and that unfortunately affected everybody, of course. So it means hopefully we can play live next year, but that will be over 3 years since we last played live. That's a long gap. But I hope we just, we return with ease. I hope it's not complicated. I hope it's not difficult. And I hope it's not an arduous task. I hope we just flow back into it and perform like we used to perform. But you just don't know, a gap of such a long time.
Yeah.
It's tricky to come back from that. But we'll see, we're looking forward to the end of 2021, hoping to play live. And I just hope that gigs come back, because I've heard some people have seen some shows where there is a limited audience, where there is maybe 2 people over there, 2 people over there, 2 people way over there. Yeah. That's not a gig. That's okay. It's a desperate move to try and help the live performance along. Mm-hmm. But we like rock music. Rock music is sweaty and noisy, and you're bumping into people. That's why we love it. Standing separate from people, that's not a gig. I don't know what that is, but it's not a gig. Yes. So, we want a proper sweaty show with sweaty people, so we can sweat on them. So we want it to be back to normal.
Yeah, for sure. We are all desperately waiting for it. Yeah. Good. And how have you dealt with the lockdown experience? Do you have any good story or tips for the ones who are being affected, maybe mentally or something?
Well, everybody's different, because I have a young daughter who had only just returned to school. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, when our lockdown happened in March, all the kids were sent home. So it meant I was, I had my daughter from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock in the evening every single day. So for me, my days were busy, and it was great because that one-to-one relationship was wonderful. That's quality time families don't often get. So I was teaching her all the subjects at school. I was making up subjects. I was teaching her how to write poetry, how to record music. So, we were doing all kinds of interesting things, but it meant I couldn't create anything for myself or the band because I was busy every day. Whereas a lot of musicians who are no longer playing shows, they're sitting at home. They don't know what to do with themselves because they would normally play 100 shows a year and now they're doing nothing. So for those guys, it's really tough. For some of them, they've taken this opportunity to be creative and maybe write and record some new songs. Yeah. For other people, they've just drank themselves stupid. And I've just worked and worked and worked. And since the kids have gone back to school, that has allowed me the opportunity to help promote the band further, and just do a bit more work for the band, because myself and Andrew, we have managed the band from the very first day. We've never had a manager. Myself and Andrew have managed the band all the time. So even when the public don't see us, we're still working in the background to make things happen. Mm-hmm. And that's been tough at the first part of lockdown, but it's easing off now. And it's great, we had the album out just before lockdown, which was great. People could still go to a record shop, buy it, and that was fine. But I think most people probably buy records online anyway. Yes, and the EP came out, and I've just got my copies of Macabre, Cabaret. They're here.
Yeah, we're going to speak about it.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah. When I saw the artwork originally, obviously a few months ago, I only saw it on a flat screen, and I knew that the gold was supposed to be printed in gold and not yellow ink. And I only just received these 3 days ago, but I'd seen the fans. They had got their copies before us, and they were going, "Yeah, this is fantastic." And I'm sitting there saying, "Where's my copy? Where's my copy?" So when my copies came through, I was like a child at Christmas. I opened it and my eyes came out of my head, and I was feeling it all and checking every single detail. There's even gold along the spine, and it was just a beautiful thing to have. And it's very rare for an EP to actually come in gatefold like this, you don't normally get this
Oh,
for an EP. So
yes.
it's really, really nice, and the back of it's all gold,
Yeah.
and it's just a nice thing, you know. And
Yeah.
so we've been delighted with things like that, and we launched the MyDyingBride beer as well. That came out a few months ago, and several empty cans of
Yeah.
MyDyingBride beer. They're all empty
Yeah,
now.
that's great to have all my questions are related to this products that you have there. So we're
Yeah,
gonna you can show it them already.
yeah,
That's
that's great.
great. That's great. That's amazing.
So we're keeping busy. You know, MyDyingBride is me and Andrew managing the band the best way we can. And if you can't play live, you've got to think of other ideas to keep the fans interested in what the band are doing.
Yes.
So making a beer, we are looking at making a wine as well.
Ah, that's my question here.
Yeah, we are thinking of doing a wine.
All right.
So, you know, just stuff that's interesting.
I
That
just
isn't
felt
always.
that could be from you, you know. I was already thinking, maybe I know
You're
that
already
you're
on
a
it.
wine lover. I got like, I believe maybe that would be a nice idea if they also produced wine, you know.
Yeah. Well, again, when we did the beer,
Uh-huh.
it would be so easy to just go to a brewery and say, sell us some beer and stick a My Dying Bride label on it. We didn't want to do that. We spent months going to the brewery, tasting every day. It was very difficult.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Until we
Hard
found,
times.
until we found the perfect ingredients, and we loved it. And because that way, when you talk about your product, you genuinely enjoy it because you've helped make it. Same with the wine. I know there are loads of online companies who will sell me wine with a MyDyingBride label on, but it's not a MyDyingBride wine. It's their wine
Yeah.
with our name on, and that's not good enough. I want to go to vineyards, and I want to taste the wines, and I want to look at the grape varieties. I want to know how they manufacture it. I want to see the process, the bottling. I want to see it from start to finish. And obviously I can't because of the pandemic, so I need to wait for that to be over. But there's no hurry for the wine. You know, the beer was fine because the brewery is just 10 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
The wine is different because the vineyards are all in the south of England.
Okay.
It's a long way to go, and when you're not allowed to travel, it's silly. So there's no hurry. When we start work on the wine, we will start work on it, and it might take 2 or 3 years to finally get one that we think is perfect. And then we might release a Macabre Cabernet or something like that.
Yeah. Cool. Really nice. All right. So, so let's speak about the EP. Macabre Cabaret. So it was recently released, and my question is, why an EP now? So I mean, The Ghost of Orion was released only 9 months ago, and is there something special involved in it?
Well, if you look at the whole history of My Dying Bride, we started our, I guess, proper career with an EP, Symphonaire Infernus, then an album, then an EP, then an album, then an EP. It's kind of a pattern we developed over the years, and we quite like that. And when myself and Andrew flew to Germany to speak to Nuclear Blast a couple of years ago now, they asked us, when you start writing, if you could write maybe 80 minutes worth of music, that will give us enough for an album and some left over for an EP or an extended album or something. So we said, that's fine. So we wrote 11 pieces of music, and 8 were on the album, and the other 3 were for the EP. But obviously we couldn't decide which songs were going on the album and which songs were going on the EP, because, you know, we kept arguing all the time. So we just let Nuclear Blast pick the songs. So that solved an easy problem. And so the album was released, and we did a couple of videos for it, which were great fun. And then summertime was not in the way, when we should have been doing summer festivals. And then towards the end of summer, Nuclear Blast got in touch and said, okay, we're going to put the EP together. do you know anybody who can do the artwork? And luckily I'd just been talking to this guy, Roberto Bordin from Italy. And
Okay.
I said, right, the EP needs to happen. Let's get the artwork together. And he came up with these amazing, amazing pieces of artwork, 3 different pieces of artwork for one EP, which is incredible. And we just put everything together. And our producer, Mark, he took the 3 remaining songs for the EP. And because they were recorded at the same time as The Ghost of Orion, they had a similar studio sound, and Mark wanted the EP to sound different. So Mark took those 3 songs and he kind of reworked them a little bit in the studio just to give them their own sound. So it didn't sound like the same as the album.
Okay.
So and then it came out, I can't remember when it came out, but it was great. And, you know, we did another video for it, and
Yes.
videos are always interesting to do.
Yeah,
And
that's
again,
my next question, by the way. So it's
yeah,
really
loads of
beautiful,
people.
and you have acting for real, yeah. So and how was the idea of the video clip developed?
Yeah, it was great. During a gap in lockdown, I managed to go to London and shoot some scenes there. And then the next day, the video company came up to Yorkshire and filmed the band individually performing in the basement of our rehearsal room. So we managed to get the whole video shot in 2 days, which was great. And it's nice to do sort of acting in videos sometimes, rather than just, it's fine just doing the music.
Yeah.
But it's fine if you can do a little bit extra anyway, and I enjoy it. And the video company have said, you know, we're making some short movies. Would you like to be in these movies too? And I said, hell yeah, put my name down. So I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but there's going to be some other things that I will be involved in video, and we'll just see how that goes. But yeah, the videos are great fun.
Yeah.
I never really watched them back because I suppose, you know, a lot of actors and actresses, they don't watch their own movies because they just think the way they act looks strange to themselves. And I'm exactly the same way. You know, when the video is finished, the video company send me a copy and I have to watch it because I have to make sure it's okay. And I sit there going, oh, you know, and I think, and I say, you know, if you like it, I like it. And they say, no, if you like it, it's okay. Not if we like it because we did it. And I just say, just release it. I don't care. It's probably great. So although I like acting, I probably wouldn't watch anything I've done.
Okay. So, so my next question, you express yourself much through many ways an artist could, yeah? So acting, also a little bit in live performances, writing lyrics, and through waymates, yeah? So I have 2 questions about that. So do you have any literary influence, inspiration, and which are your favorite authors? And another question is, you have some work with photography and graphic creations. So are they an extension of the music, of your music, or the opposite?
I'm not sure which came first, the creativity or the music. Maybe I think everything started to come together at the same sort of time, because I always loved poetry at school, and I never imagined I would carry it on after I'd left school. But then got into the rock business and got together with some guys and we formed a band. And because I couldn't play an instrument, I knew I was going to be the vocalist. Excuse me. And being a vocalist, I knew I would be writing the words, and the poetry I loved would influence the words that I would write, which was quite a gamble, really, because when MyDyingBride formed, the death metal scene was becoming really big. And to write lyrics in the style that I did was the complete opposite to what death metal lyrics were. So it was a gamble. You know, people could have hated it, but thankfully people loved it. And I never look back. I write in a flamboyant style, which you know, a lot of people like and a lot of people don't like. But it's my style, and I feel comfortable writing this way. It feels natural for me. It doesn't feel like I'm working hard to do it. It just comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times when I might be listening to some music the band have sent me, and I think, okay, let's concentrate now on the music and think of some words that will fit with the music. And I'll start writing what I'm thinking are going to be My Dying Bride lyrics. And I sometimes get carried away and I turn the music off because it's become a distraction now. And I continue writing, and I write and I write and I write. And what was supposed to be lyrics for My Dying Bride has now become its own poem. And it's no longer suitable for My Dying Bride. So I put it in this book of poetry I've got. And then there are other occasions when I think to myself, I've got an idea and I'm going to write a poem. And as I'm writing, I can hear a tune in my head and I think this would work for the band. So what was going to be a poem becomes a lyric.
Okay.
And I like that creativity, and it allows me to write as often as possible. When I feel the desire to write, I will write. Even though that we're not writing a new album, I am compelled to write and put words down on paper because they're all rolling around in my head. If I don't get them out of my head, I might go insane. So I write and it empties my head. And when I've finished writing, I feel fantastic. I feel enlightened and amazing because I've managed to get these often negative thoughts out of my mind and onto paper, and I put them in this book. And at the moment, I'm collecting all these poems and these writings that I've done, and I have to type them all into the computer, and it's really boring. But I'd like to release a book at some point in the future.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to do a book, I have to type them all into the computer.
Yes.
Um,
No other
so
way.
so that's my kind of, that's something I'm looking at in the next year or two, maybe publishing a book of poetry, which is just, it's something I like doing. And as I said, I'm comfortable doing it. And I know poetry is very subjective. Some people love Shakespeare, some people hate Shakespeare. Some people love Byron, some people hate Byron. And it's the same with every type of poetry. You love it or you hate it. So when I do a book, loads of people will hate it, and I hope some people will love it. But it doesn't matter to me because it's not going to be released to make me a millionaire. It's going to be released because I want other people to read what I've been writing, because when they read my lyrics, they want to know more. They want more.
For sure.
They just want everything. And so I think, okay, well, I'm writing all the time. I'll give it to them. So it will be released almost for my pleasure. It's not going to be a bestseller. I already know it's not going to be a bestseller, but it's something I feel compelled to do, and I want to do it.
Only to express
Same with the
yourself.
artwork.
Yeah, this is genuine. It's something.
Yeah, it's the same with the artwork. Sometimes I'm writing, and the idea I've got in my brain, I can see it there. And at first I think, you can describe this. And if it's not working, I tear the page up and I get angry. And then I start doing something visual instead, some painting. And then the idea flows through the painting. And you think, great. Well, and when you finish, you think that should have been words, but it came out as an image. And it's the same way. I might start painting something and it's not working and I go crazy. So I write about it and it works when I write about it. So there are different mediums for expressing yourself.
Yep.
And I don't care which one I use. They're all good. So I just need to get it out. If I let everything boil in my brain too much, I'll go insane, and I can't allow that to happen.
Okay. Sounds great. All right. So that would be my question about the wine, but you already spoke about it, also about the beer. Yeah. I don't know if you want to speak more about maybe the beer. Where can we find? Yeah.
The problem with
Or
beer and wine, the problem with liquid, shipping liquid to a foreign country is quite expensive.
Yeah.
Which is why when we've been doing interviews, I've just kind of asked the people if they know of an an importer who might want to buy a big pallet of it rather than a few cases, or even a brewery who might want to license the beer and brew it in their own country. That will allow people to buy it much, much cheaper. Because, you know, the brewery told me that if someone from Brazil, for example, wants to buy a case of beer, the shipping to Brazil is $70. Then they add the price of the beer on top. It's too expensive. So, but that's the problem with liquid. So it will be the same with the wine. And I'm also working on gin, but that's a long way down the line.
Oh, well.
These are expensive things to send. So we need a better way to do it. So if anybody listening knows, even a local store that has interesting beers from around the world, pass those details on to MyDyingBride or darklandbrewery.co.uk, and we can try and get this beer to people cheaper. We understand it's expensive, but it's because it's heavy. So if we can get it cheaper into someone's country, help us do it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. And now tell me, which are your main metal influences as a musician?
Gosh, it's changed over the years, because, you know, 30 years ago, I was, you know, big into early Celtic Frost, even Slayer, Metallica, Candlemass, and those guys, and a combination of those guys were creating things that I wanted to do. So when we formed MyDyingBride, we wanted to be doom, death, gothic, a kind of weird combination of those things. And it worked well, and we got this nice formula going, and we continued it. But obviously, you know, that was 30 years ago. And I've listened to all kinds of bands in that space of time. And you're influenced by the things I guess you like at a specific time. And I'm a big Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds fan. I love what those guys do and have done for many years. Although I wouldn't say they influenced me. When I listen to the music, it does something to me in such a fashion, in such a way, that it urges me to be creative. But obviously you can't copy these guys because that's illegal. But it still inspires you, I suppose, to do something of your own. And it's like they're almost like a teacher with a stick poking me on the shoulder saying, do some work. Don't copy, but just do some work. So I do some work. And since I've joined social media, I was very late to Facebook, only a year or two ago, I think. And people have been in touch, and people have sent me loads of CDs. And some of it's good and some of it's not so good. But you're influenced by the things you listen to. You're influenced by the people you meet, the books you read, the films you watch, your own experiences through your own life. All of these small things come together to create the artist that you are. And sometimes it's not one thing, it's several different things that all meet at that exact time to produce an entity that is like a vessel for your thoughts, and out it goes. And I can't even pick a band off the top of my head who I could say was the most influential. But well, I suppose it would probably be Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds if I really had to do it. And I know a lot of metal fans like Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds because when they're noisy, they're really, really noisy, and they're a great live band, So I would pick those guys, really.
All right. And which are your influences out of metal?
Gosh, well, I like classical music. I like, there's a funny, well, not funny, there's a doom jazz band called Boren and the Club of Gore, who write really relaxing doom jazz. And it's so smooth, and it's just, when I listen to it, I normally would listen to it when I'm writing or if I'm painting or something like that, because it's just, there's not many lyrics. And when the singer is singing, it's such a low, it's like he's asleep. It's so low, and it's not a vocal thing like this. It's just a relaxed thing.
Okay.
There's a saxophone, and the drums are played with brushes rather than drumsticks.
Wow.
And it's all very mellow, and it's just, all the songs are 15 minutes long or something crazy like that. And it's just really nice to listen to something that it's as effective as hard rock in the way it makes me do things, but it's a completely different entity. It's so different. The genre is a million miles away from heavy metal, but it doesn't mean it isn't good. You know, I think it's fabulous. So those guys, I think, are well worth a listen. I think people should go out and it's a funny name. I'll say it again. I don't know how to spell it, but it's Boren and Der Club of Gore.
Okay.
Check him out.
All right. Yeah. Good. And now I have a situation for you, okay? It's a classical situation as well. So suppose you are a bad guy, got in trouble, and had life imprisonment as a sentence, and you can have nothing with you but 3 albums. You can listen for the rest of your life because one of the guards of the prison is a nice guy and gave you them as a gift. So which albums would you choose?
Ooh, sorry, my chair's squeaking a lot. Let me think. Goodness me. Well, that's a difficult. Only 3?
Yeah.
Well, 3 is tricky. I would be tempted to go for something with a foreign language so that I could learn what the lyrics were. That would be interesting. Because then you're not just getting the music, you're getting the opportunity to learn a new language. But I'm not really sure who to choose. But I think for me, one of the greatest albums I ever heard was Master of Puppets by Metallica. You know, it was the first time I heard it in a nightclub. So it was really loud. And when you hear it really loud, you just think, oh, this is amazing. It's amazing. So that Master of Puppets would have to be one of them, most definitely. And I also think Murder Ballads by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. It's just a wild ride of death and mayhem. And it's an album where every single person gets murdered by in some weird fashion. It's crazy, really crazy. But the way he describes the characters and the way they meet their end is just, it's funny and it's violent, it's imaginative, and you can't help smiling when people are being beaten to death. It's a weird thing. And I think I would probably go back again to possibly, I might go opera, Wagner's Ring Cycle, because that's 8 hours long.
Oh, good.
So that would be a lot of music.
Yeah.
And sung in a foreign language, so I would get to learn the language as well. So yeah, I think that would be a really good choice.
Yeah. Great. All right, and to finish our interview, would you like to leave a message to your fans who are watching or listening to us?
Yeah, well, thank you all for your support. It means a lot to us, even after all these years. We don't take it for granted. We really respect everyone who even mentions My Dying Bride in a positive note. And we're really looking forward to performing live again for people. You know, it's been too long. 2017, the last time we played live. We will be back and we'll be stronger than ever. Thank you so much for your support. Absolute respect. Thanks everybody, and have a jolly Christmas and a happy new year. Let's hope 2021 is way better than 2020.
Yeah. So, all right. Okay, so thanks again, Aaron, for your time, for the interview. And thanks you all for watching and listening to us, and stay heavy.